Uh, I'm Eljay.
Yeah, and in the Wisp.
Before we talk about anything, just if you haven't seen the movie, best not watch this. It's gonna be chock full of spoilers.
Yep.
So,
I feel like there's not too many spoilers for this movie, though. It's kind of
really.
like Han
It's
Solo in
very
a sense where it's like
self-contained.
it kind of goes the way you think it's gonna go. But
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even the post-credit scene goes the way you think it's gonna go.
yeah, I mean the post-credit scene was still freaking good, but yeah.
Yep.
The villains in this movie threw me for a loop because I didn't know what to expect from them. Ergo, they didn't go how
So
I
we're
thought they
we're just gonna hop right into it then.
Man, yeah,
I
that
mean, we
was
can
quick.
talk for a minute. It's
We're
been a
gonna
while
dive
since
right
like
into
you've been
it.
on a podcast. So,
All right.
how's life been treating you since you've not been here, man?
Yeah.
Oh,
Then
man.
since you haven't been here, Mess has turned into such a jerk.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, let's apparently
Yeah, what's
for,
new?
for all the fans, Var's mad at me for some reason, and my attempts to ask why he's mad at me have been met with a variety of reasons.
I'm not surprised
And
it's
he's
taking
playing
you
it
a
up
bit
for the
to figure it
meme,
out.
but like my curiosity is like driving me
Fine.
insane in my skull.
Again, what's new? This is like
Yeah, I know, right?
just
Not
like
much
how
has
things
changed.
were when I left it.
Yeah.
I've been super busy. Deepest apologies to everybody for not being around so much. You know, the life has really taken its sweet time, smacking me in the face. You know, it's like that slow motion punch in a Zack Snyder film, where it's like it's slower than usual. That's how it's been pretty much every day, just a slow motion gut punch. So just a brief thing about what's been going on. I essentially moved out of my parents' place and moved in to my own place with my girlfriend.
Yeah, you're an
and
adult
we-
now.
Woo!
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, I know, freaking finally.
Finally, I grew up.
The last couple of months have been pretty hectic, not only because of that, but because there's just a lot of other stuff that kind of blew up in my face. My home situation was very toxic. I'm very glad to be out of that environment and in my own space where I can speak freely.
Good.
And being here, getting to this place has been such a chore. Every day, it's like I've been moving stuff around, moving stuff in, getting things cleaned up, getting things shipped from IKEA, canceling stuff that should have been shipped from IKEA, but ended up getting super delayed. You know, I still haven't gotten refunded for
How
the.
dare they? I can't.
I hate IKEA. I really hate IKEA. If you're ever gonna buy something from IKEA, just go get it from the store. Don't order it online, because their customer service is terrible. You want to cancel something, you gotta like wait up to 2 hours on the phone, until somebody gets back to you. Anyway, I tried
Their
canceling.
customer service is terrible in the store too. They've got like 5 people in that you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like a
Super
search,
sketchy.
like search for the people.
It has been over a month. It has been over a month and a half since I ordered a bed frame. I have since went and just bought the bed frame in store, and I still haven't been refunded for the original that I
Are
ordered.
you kidding
Frame,
me?
the Warframe spinoff.
Okay.
It's been terrible. But anyway,
There's one reason.
Oh my
but
gosh.
I'm here now. Everything
Oh
is
my
settled,
gosh.
and yeah, going forward, things should be pretty cool. So, woo!
Awesome.
Yeah, how's everybody been? What's new? Everybody else besides the Ant-Man.
Yeah, life's been good.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
All right, cool. I'm glad to know I didn't miss out on too much.
Yeah, well, I mean,
No,
Ben,
Now, that'd be something if Meso was like, yeah, so got a girlfriend. She's having a baby now, by the way.
that would
You're
be
like,
crazy.
oh, okay, sure.
Oh
That
my
would be
God.
crazy, man. That
That'd
would
be
be super
nuts.
crazy.
Pretty crazy, Mark.
But yeah, Ben, I think I'm not certain, but I'm fairly confident this is the first podcast you and I have been on since I've been back.
Since you've been back, where'd you go?
Where do you think I went, Ben? I was cast off.
Where'd you go?
Oh my
you were
God.
cast off. Oh!
My
No
goodness.
way. We've been on at least one podcast since you've been back.
I'll go back and check because I have a list of everyone's
No. Remember, I was
episodes.
there for the podcast. It was like your welcome back podcast. I was there for that.
Oh yeah, I did not host that one. That's fair. Okay, yeah, we've probably been on one. Then.
Oh.
But you've been gone so long.
This is our
I
first
don't
one.
think
Wait.
we've been on a podcast together
I know.
before, though.
I know. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
We're very rarely on podcasts with good old Mataro over here, which, by the way, you should move a little bit closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry.
we-
I don't
can barely
actually know.
hear you.
I don't know where the mic is. It's somewhere on
You
the
sound like you're in the bathroom. What?
You just joined the podcast not knowing where your mic was.
It's here somewhere.
Sound better?
Not really.
It must be on the other side there.
I think you need to like buy a tile and attach it to your mic.
Yeah, and hope Ven doesn't accidentally ship it to California.
Hey, in
You
hindsight,
know, that is so much funnier now with context.
yeah, and I'm like, in hindsight, I wish I kept that thing. But anyway,
Should have.
yeah, I really should have. But
That's
I
a
guess I
story.
was too nice.
You are too
So-
nice.
Yeah, I'm too nice sometimes, and then other times I'm too mean. I can never balance it out. So
Yeah,
weird.
you're a jerk. I don't like talking to you.
Oh yeah, shameless plug since I'm here now. I'm doing art commissions. So tweet at me or message me on Instagram at
What's your
the
Twitter?
Notorious Ven.
Shameless
At
indeed.
the Notorious Ven. Just throwing that out there. I'm doing my art. I need more ideas and stuff because like getting back into it has been really awkward. I'm just so used to doing literally everything else but drawing. So
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, help give me that motivation. It's be cool. Maybe I
And-
should do
and
something
money.
for Ant-Man.
Yeah, I was about to say motivation
Money's
heard
always nice.
as money.
Yeah.
Motivation.
Also, Purple apparently is doing art commissions too. I'll just throw that out there.
But
But
like in August.
Hey, Purple,
Yeah.
you should,
But she'll-
I don't know,
that's coming in August.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey, at
He's
Notorious.
gonna do
Ven,
that
I
stuff
don't
in
know
August.
money.
I'm doing it now. I'm doing art commissions right now, and they're like super cheap. You want something nice and fully colored? I'll do it for like $20.
Hey, Ven, can
Purple
I,
says, at Notorious Ven, I don't have money, but you should draw me stuff for free 'cause we're friends or something.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
like how you drew me that one thing that I asked you to do
Oh,
for
no.
me.
Oh, no, 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 no!
And then
I
you
think there's
like
intentional
went
shade
ahead and
being thrown right
charged
now.
it. Yeah,
Tension is
sure.
rising. Gravity
not-
hurts.
That's not gonna happen. I don't care what your intention was in bringing this up, but I'm gonna lay the smack down to you later. You're gonna get the rest of that later. Anyway, let's
It's
talk
not flying
about.
to Egypt, it's flying to Smackdown Town.
No!
Oh, you're getting away this time, but trust that when you come back, the very first thing you're gonna get is a very angry phone call from me. So
Me.
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 let's talk about Ant-Man.
But
Alright,
Ven, I
are we
want to
good to
talk
talk
about
about
Brick
Ant-Man?
Fair.
Brick
Oh,
Fair's
yeah. Go ahead and plug
You're
Brick Fair.
stupid! Yeah,
You're
You have
right.
a limited
because
amount of
apparently I'm not
opportunities
going
to
Brick
plug
Fair.
Brick Fair. So
we're
may
gonna.
as well do it.
I want to do another
I'm
like
so
a
happy
separate.
to be on this podcast. I'm so happy you're my friends.
Mantra.
So glad we have this call.
I'm
Okay.
so glad that I'm not mad at anyone in this call.
Oh my gosh.
Why are you
Yeah,
mad at me?
I'm not mad at anyone in this call either.
What did I do to you, Bar? Did I kill your cat? Did I wound your heart somehow?
Well, you might have wounded
Honestly,
his
the
heart.
fact that you don't know is
You're
yet
making
another
me
reason.
more mad, dude. You playing ignorant.
Well, at least he's not mad at me, right, pal?
So
Okay.
Purple is saying, Var, don't be such an angry
Yeah,
girl.
I see her. I'm ignoring her.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Okay, so Brick Fair is coming up, Brick Fair, Virginia. It is going to be the first weekend in August. And the only reason I'm bringing it up now is because it's coming up really soon. And Matoro, myself, and Invictus, we're all going to be there. Just the three of us. Along with AT, who I hope you guys can meet because he's super awesome. And I wish he were on the podcast to talk because he's cool. But as far as toasts
He's
are
all right.
concerned, myself, Matoro, and Envy will be there. And we'll release a video talking more about it later. But if you're going...
Oh, yeah, the TTV D team.
Give me like 40
The
commissions,
D-team.
I'll probably go
What the heck, dude? But I highly
Did
recommend.
Eljay get like demoted then for leaving?
Well, we all got demoted. Like everyone got equaled out.
Everyone.
But
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, no, come and find me. I'll have comics on the public days.
Come
I'll
and
just,
find him.
just give you a comic. Okay, that's it.
Just go to
You
Brick
should
Fair
change your
just
name
to find
to
LJ, then
and
look right at him.
Tenebrae Invictus, and then we can be the D team.
Hold up, sorry. What did you say? You're talking about Envy? What about him? How's he doing?
We should.
Is he alive?
I think he is. He's in Thailand.
Okay,
So
good.
not for long.
I haven't heard from him in a while either.
Oh yeah. I think he's flying back like really soon.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
Since being in Thailand, he's had like 2 near-death experiences. So
Yikes.
Yeah, things have been going pretty bad for him.
It's just been like somebody like tried to yeah.
yeah, that's the thing that happened.
Yeah,
I'm sure
He
he
comes
would.
back safe and sound. Watch, he's just gonna walk right out of the airport here, back at his home in good old America, and then next thing you know, like his Uber driver has like a little knife on him. Just,
I mean, at this rate, I would not be surprised.
He will walk out of the airport and explode, and that's just it, just for no reason, at all.
Yep.
so yeah,
That's been going on with him. But yes, Brick Fair, you should totally go in Virginia, Chinchilla, Virginia, the Dallas Expo Center.
chinchilla,
Chinchilli. Get that delicious chinchilli.
Nice.
chinchilla.
So, for now, though, today, the main purpose of the podcast, aside from me trying to uncover the root of Var's anger, will be Ant-Man and the Wasp, the newest Marvel
Ant-Man
movie.
and the Wasp.
I feel like that's another one of the reasons.
So, Ant-Man and the Wasp is the
13
sequel,
reasons why.
the sequel to Marvel's Ant-Man, the movie which half the group seemed to have a dislike for, and everyone seems to like Ant-Man and the Wasp, despite it basically being the
dude,
same
yeah.
movie. Just
Ant-Man
more.
and the Wasp is like 10 times better than the original Ant-Man movie. It was so much better.
I agree, but like it's like saying, what's the word? I don't know. There's no good
Yeah,
analogy.
let's just stop the podcast so that you can think about what word.
It's like saying that Halo 2 is like so much better than Halo 1. It is in some ways, but in a lot of ways, it's the same game. Like the things that are good about Ant-Man and the Wasp
I
are also
think that's
good
such a
about
good
Ant-Man.
comparison, man. Halo 2 is like above and beyond CE.
Well, there are positive improvements. Like I feel like the thing with Ant-Man and the Wasp, I feel like every single character was written better. I feel like they were written smarter. I feel like they got more comedic moments, and they balanced the screen time very well for such a admittedly bloated cast.
Hmm.
Well,
But
honestly,
I feel
I
like-
think the thing that was missing from the original Ant-Man for me that really made this movie different was the Wasp. I don't think that Ant-Man's a hero
True
that
that.
can really carry a movie on his own. And I think
Wasp
the
was a
original
dynamite
Ant-Man movie
character.
really proved that for me. Like their dynamic in this movie definitely made it more entertaining, and also just having someone who's actually good at their job to kind of work alongside the person who sucks at it really did.
I
make
will
it
say I'm not a fan of how much they dumbed down Ant-Man in this movie. Like he definitely did stuff in the previous movie. You know, they showed off his skill a little bit when it comes to like breaking into things and whatnot. Him learning to use the Ant-Man suit and training with all the ant armies and using them. This movie doesn't really do much of that. It's like it's all the Wasp. And that's cool. I love the Wasp when she's on screen. She fights like amazingly. She's
Well, I
like
feel
my
like Scott's
favorite part.
strength is he is smart when it counts. He's able to pull together and improvise a plan. And he did that a lot with like the breaking and entering, and he does the same kind of thing in this movie. Like when the chips are down and when he gets serious, Scott Lang is a very competent person. But 9 times out of 10, he's coasting through life.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
he's mostly
respect
coasting
that.
in this movie, though.
I respect that a lot.
That's how I live my life, basically coasting through and hoping something happens.
I do agree. He was played very very for jokes this movie,
Yeah,
but I
like
feel like
there's-
that was essential because
Okay.
Hank and Hope couldn't really be. They were dealing with very personal, deep stuff, and juxtaposing that with Scott's antics made for good dynamic. But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah,
I don't really
it's just-
remember him being all that competent or competent in the first movie either, but it's been a while since I've seen it.
Fair enough. I was gonna say, like, there's a part in this movie that I think really kind of exemplifies how much they like dumbed down his character. There was a part where they were trying to figure something out with the thing they were building, the quantum space bridge. I don't know what
Quantumer.
The
they
quantum
like.
teleporter.
Yeah,
thing.
quantum teleporter thing. They're like about to figure it out, and like the mom was sending messages through Scott, and then eventually she just like, I don't know, out of nowhere, completely possesses him, and like I feel like that's such a testament to how useless a character is. If you have to, like, you gotta pull some weird quantum power out of your butt when you're writing the script to essentially replace the character with somebody completely different for just a full scene so that we can move on through the movie.
What was his plot relevancy? It was the reason they needed him in the first place.
Yeah.
Was because he went into the quantum realm and he came back. I do agree that particular scene completely taking all of the agency away from him and having him have no clue that it happened was a little but they had to pay it off because that was the premise of the movie. That's why they kind of came after him to get him in the first place.
I thought it led to a funny gag with like Scott and Hank holding hands and like kind of flirting.
Yeah. Like that was hilarious. I was laughing like almost the
So
whole
I thought it was
scene.
worth it.
So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I think the dynamic in this movie, all throughout the movie, I was reminded almost constantly of Guardians of the Galaxy. I feel like the way the crew came together was very similar to that, with Scott playing the role of Peter Quill and Wasp Gamora. Almost the exact same dynamics. And I don't think that, Peter Quill is dumbed down. He's just the comedic guy out of the bunch. He's quirky, he's quippy, and the people around him are either on one end of the spectrum or the other. You have people like Louise, you have people like Hope, like you have people like Rocket or Gamora.
Yeah, I never really got the sense that Scott was dumb. Because like I get what you're saying, but to me he never came off as someone who was stupid. He was just kind of incompetent at the whole thing. But that's because he's just a dude. He's not some superhero. He's just like a guy that they got off the street to wear the suit. That's exactly how it's portrayed, I feel. So
I can see how certain situations he ended up being a part of may have also made it seem as though he were dumber. Like every single time he had a suit malfunction. Like that wasn't
that bothered me the whole time.
Yeah, but that wasn't him though.
Yeah.
Was malfunctioning.
It just leads to the
perception. It was fine in the last movie, but
how much of a work in progress is this?
Yeah, like really? Like Scott asks some of the most like meta questions. There are two questions he asked in this movie that I even asked myself. One was that, like, yeah, how much of a prototype was that? What happened to the other suits? Is this really the only one, or are they really just doing this to play up laughs and stuff? I don't know. Well, then the other question was...
It is the only one, literally.
Yeah.
Yuck. Because they decided to write off the other one as getting destroyed, right?
Even though it later wasn't.
No, it wasn't destroyed. It was in the it was in the trophy. I forget what he used it for though.
What happened to that?
It's really good.
Okay, so the thing with the suit is he was asked to destroy it. He said that he did. He didn't. He hid it. And the plot relevance for the suit was they needed something in it that the new suits didn't have to track the lab.
Yeah, okay. But then for whatever reason he just didn't use the suit after that point. So I don't know why. But
well, probably because they dismantled that thingamabob that it had. That and the new suit looks way better.
It's so. I can't with that.
But it's another thing where like. Because I talked about this before when we were talking about Thor Ragnarok and how humor was handled in that movie and how I thought it was better than Guardians 2. And I think that like the difference between that humor and Guardians was like I felt like a lot of the jokes that were happening weren't out of character or ruining the plot or anything. It was things that like they wouldn't be able to control or expect, like Thor chucking the ball at the window and having it bounce back and smack him in the face. It was really funny because that's totally something that could absolutely happen in a situation like that. where he just, his bravado completely screwed him over. So like here, I feel like it's another kind of situation where it's not like Scott's being stupid or moronic or anything, and that's why he's being put in these stupid situations. It's because he's using a suit that is malfunctioning, and that's very much established and everything. It's not him being dumb; it's him being put in dumb situations that he can't control, and that's where the humor comes from. Is that
I guess that's
the entire movie is just like taking the piss out of him, and that's
that's more so what bothers me. It's not so much that they actually dumbed his character, but they play him up entirely for laughs, and they give excuses for him to be dumb.
That's
I guess.
fair.
Like
they do play him up for laughs.
Yeah, like, oh, it just so happens that this suit's a prototype and it wonks out all the time, and that's why Scott can't do anything right, because his suit is stupid for some reason. It's like, why is it like that?
I don't know. I liked it. I thought
he was able to pull through and get the job done when it mattered most, pretty much every single time.
Yeah, like I never felt like he was useless or anything. He was just a little. He was kind of clumsy about the whole thing. Yeah.
Very clumsy. But when he went giant and he was chasing after that dude, he ended up getting the thing.
Yeah,
when he needed to save Hope and Hank, he ended up saving him from prison. When he needed to be plot relevant and get Janet out of the quantum realm, did it. He kept up the high-speed chase in the stupid car, making it go along. While he was
I also
giant.
like how he's a good dad too. That's an aspect of his character.
Oh
that's
yeah,
really unique, and I really
do like that part about this movie. All the scenes with him.
Yeah,
his daughter
he's just like a
sweet
amazing. Dad character.
His daughter's such a great.
It's really endearing.
A Phase 3 father that isn't a dirtbag. What a change of pace.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Yeah, it definitely makes him unique, and I like that aspect.
He's been in prison.
Well, because he was. That
He's
is
on
true.
House arrest.
He
broke a couple
did go
laws.
to prison. He did break some laws, but for good reasons. Ven, he
kind-
returned all that
Yeah,
money.
we gotta remember the reason he's on house arrest right now is because he was trying to save the world.
Yeah.
So.
I can give him a pass.
Sort of. I don't know if they ever even
Thanos
fully on
wanted
what
to
they were
save the
doing.
universe.
We'll get the Thanos.
Oh yeah, the Thanos.
Cassie Lang is such a great character, and
I really
the
like
actress
Cassie.
is too good.
They are absolutely. By the way, just going back in our Infinity War podcast, they are absolutely setting her up to be a superhero in the next movie.
Apparently, she is in the comics.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she is. She is, and we already know that they casted an older actress for her in Avengers 4.
Yeah.
So,
For some reason, that's gonna be really interesting.
yeah, they're absolutely setting her up because they keep every scene she's in. She's like, I want to be your partner. I want to be a hero too. That kind of thing. So they're totally doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Too good.
So, really cool character. I can't wait to see what they do with her.
I pretty much think almost every aspect of this movie was done. It was the same principles that I liked about the first Ant-Man. It was the same core, but I feel like it was just done better. Every interaction, every banter, the plot. Luis got a whole subplot. And his crew, which was comedy gold at every single stage.
I did not really care for that subplot.
So I will actually.
I thought they were hilarious. I was the only one in the theater that laughed at them. I think they were so funny.
The thing is, with most of their scenes, it was honestly the kind of humor that's not really my thing. I don't like it when movies or TV shows take like 10 minutes to tell a joke, Oh
no! That was my favorite joke from the first Ant-Man, and to see it not only utilized in a way that doesn't
I'm not talking
overdo
about
it.
that.
Oh,
I'm not talking about that. Those scenes are great.
What joke?
I'm sad that there was only one of them in this scene. I'm talking about how what's a good example? Oh, the truth serum thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's truth serum. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. But then it's like, that's funny.
Yeah, the truth serum joke was the worst joke in the movie, I think.
Then they just keep doing that. Like that first scene, they brought it up. They dragged that joke on for like 5 minutes, and then they brought it up again later. That's the kind of stuff I don't like. And I felt like a lot of the scenes were like that.
I thought that was the weakest joke for sure.
I need to see the movie again. I feel like that joke simply plays the rule of 3. Like, they have the initial scene, they bring it up again, and then they cap it off at the end with the guy. I need to see that. I can see where you're coming from, though. But even still, even if that's the weakest joke in the film, I thought that was absolutely hilarious when they capped it off.
My
just
thing
a
about
lot
that
of
was
stuff
that it
like
led to
that.
another joke, like a sub joke that I thought was freaking hilarious. Where like I don't even know his name, like the weird Russian guy. I think like
Yeah.
he's just like
Yeah.
they're talking about the truth serum, and he's like, and this reminds me of the tale of some weird creepy story, and the music plays, and they just keep talking. Baba Yaga. That's
Baba
it in the
Yaga,
chat.
Baba Yaga.
I was the only one in the theater that laughed at it. It was like dead silent, but for me, I thought that was the funniest thing.
Yeah, I love their gag. The gag of people.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
no, that was really
there
good.
are a lot of good jokes, but I feel like there's just also a good number of jokes.
And
that
I
just-
love how that random like gangster guy, Sonny, what's his name, almost became like Louise's villain. by the
Okay.
end.
That's probably
Like,
the
yeah,
weakest
so random.
the weakest part of the movie, the kind of weakest subplot. Not because I thought it was bad, but because there was a
It felt
portion
kinda
of the
tacked
film.
on.
There was a portion of the film where I'm watching this all happening, and it's not super intersecting. It's about to intersect, but it hasn't yet with the main plot. But it almost gave me a kind of too many villains feel, just for a bit.
I felt that too. I was very
yeah,
pleased
kinda
that
felt
by
that
the
too.
end it kind of avoided that problem by the free for all car chase. It was
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
of a heroes working against villains and more like an every man for themselves.
Exactly.
But I did fear early on that they were going like a Spider-Man 3 route.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. It didn't, to me, it was more of, there's not really a villain as much as it is just everybody is out to steal this one thing.
Yeah.
Because
And
Ghost
that was
didn't
it.
even really end up being a villain, just another
Exactly.
like, force, another group.
Yeah.
So that's how it came off as for me. It wasn't really a hero versus villain kind of story.
It was just everyone's an antagonist to each other.
It was a heist movie. It was
Again.
a sequel heist movie. Where
It was a
everybody's
way
trying to
better
steal
heist
something.
movie than the first Ant-Man. The entire movie was about them stealing the lab, and like, oh, and the lab gets stolen back, and then they gotta go like steal it from the people who stole it and hunt it down. Whereas in the first movie, it wasn't really a heist movie at all until the very end, and that didn't even amount to anything because Yellow Jacket just like, foiled everything. So way better conflict.
Yeah.
Agreed.
By the way, I saw a comment in the chat. Apparently, the director said at some point that maybe Yellow Jacket went subatomic.
So
in which case, would he be in the quantum realm?
I know this where this originates from. Screen Junkies did a kind of sit down with him, going over their honest trailer of the first Ant-Man, and the director basically said, "Now listen, everyone's here saying there's kind of an assumption that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with going around, and it's that Cross died." And that's basically what he says. So he's saying it's an assumption, but he never outright said, "Yeah, Cross is alive." It's heavily implicated though.
Well, I don't really need to see him back because he was kind of a bad villain, but I liked the suit. So
Suit was cool.
Suit was cool. I was kind of expecting that they were going to repurpose the Yellow Jacket suit for the Wasp at some point in the franchise, but then they killed him off in the they quote unquote killed him off in the last movie. So I guess that wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But, I thought that's what they were setting up though with that.
I remember there was
well.
a heavy critique of the Wasp suit before the movie came out, saying that it was really dull.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Because like people wanted it to be much brighter, they wanted more yellow, they wanted it to be more vibrant, but it wasn't in the film.
I think it's perfect. Honestly,
Exactly. I think that if it was bright and
That was
vibrant,
fine,
then it would have worked against itself, because she's not supposed to be bright and vibrant. She's supposed to be dull and sneaky and get around easily.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a functional suit, not something that's supposed to be flashy.
Yeah.
The flashy one would be Ant-Man. He's the guy who's just like, yeah, I'm a cool dude. I'm wearing this awesome suit. She's the one who's like, all right, let's get the job done.
Yeah.
So
There were just so many awesome Wasp action scenes that just really they gave me Deadpool vibes, like the one where she just pops
it
into
was
the
really
car and is like,
Deadpool-y.
"Hi there," and then like shrinks and they punch each other. She goes out the window, grabs it, and like kicks back in the other side. It's like all sorts of insane stuff like that. And then the scene at the very start when the Wasp suit gets introduced and she's fighting in the kitchen and like dodging knives and throwing salt shakers and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That was excellent.
Mhm.
Absolutely excellent.
Yeah, she was really cool. I remember one of my favorite jokes in the movie. Easily the funniest joke of the movie for me was when Scott was talking about like his first vision and how he saw like the kid hiding in the cupboard, and then Janet was like, "That's where I used to hide every time we played hide and seek," and he was just like, Hope, and he was just like, "I don't think you got the point of the game."
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
Yep. Yeah. So she was
Scott
really,
had a
really
lot
good
of missed
character.
jokes
Oh yeah.
for sure. Now, there's another thing that did bother me a lot about this movie:
My God.
quantum everything. Quantum this, quantum that. Let's explain this away by just saying it's quantum.
They had to build
Yeah.
the quantum explorer to go through the quantum tunnel to go into the
Like-
quantum realm to get Janet, who's been infected with quantum particles.
And now has quantum powers.
Quantum
Quantum
powers.
healing.
No, we must
Nah.
use the quantum healing.
Like, okay, first movie it was like, okay, quantum realm, it's subatomic. You go there, nothing is comprehensible. It's just crazy. And it's like, okay, sure, it's basically like an alternate dimension. That's kind of, I can get behind that. This movie, they use the quantum realm as like the excuse for absolutely everything. Oh, Scott's having visions 2 years after the events
Quantum
of Ant-Man.
Well, I don't know
Quantum
if it's really
vision.
an excuse so much as an explanation.
It feels like an
Wow.
excuse. I know it's supposed to serve as an explanation, but it feels like an excuse. So
And
like,
it's their way to move Ant-Man into more like relevant territory. is all it
yeah,
is.
I guess
because
'cause-
they're using the quantum realm to be like an actual other realm that they can do stuff with, and in order to get to that purpose, they need to show its functionality and have it be plot relevant.
what bothers me is that there's apparently so much functionality. Like first it's like the subatomic plane, then like it's somehow going to it gives you like these weird telekinetic powers, I guess, that allow like one being to communicate with
Yeah,
another
well-
through their heads. Like I guess I can, okay, sure, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Like I guess they both
It's
went to this
space,
realm.
but it's the opposite of space. Where with space,
Right.
it's expansion. This one is contraction. Not contraction.
Constriction.
Constriction. It's
Yeah.
like the opposite. It's going inward instead of outward. So it's like going out into space and finding some crazy thing that would give you powers like Captain Marvel, except the
Right.
other way around.
And it's just like, I don't know, the way it's presented feels too convenient, because it feels like they use the quantum realm as an excuse to move the plot along. Like, okay, how does Ant-Man get involved with the whole movie essentially? Oh, he's got like this quantum connection with the mom. Okay, sure. Then later, like that scene I mentioned earlier in the movie where Janet takes over Scott's body. Oh, why is this happening? Because quantum stuff. It's like, okay, fine, I guess. Then they like later in the movie, Janet like has these healing powers. Why? Oh, because when you're in the quantum realm, you adapt and you
Changes
change,
you.
and you get these convenient healing powers that stop like. Oh, what was the big conflict this movie? Oh, the villain, Ghost.
Ghost is
Her
sick.
powers, she's going crazy and stuff. She's constantly hurting. What's the solution? Janet heals her with her hands.
Hurt by quantum, healed by quantum.
This is a critique that I've heard. One person put it ruined the entire film because they set up a really great quandary. You either save Janet and kill or a Ghost, or you save Ghost and kill Janet, and you've put the characters in a situation where they have to choose. But as soon as Janet gets back into the real world, locks her eyes on Ghost, problem solved. She just walks up.
Problem solved. Everything is solved.
She has no information on the situation. She just sees her, I guess immediately knows, walks up, hands on temples, done. It's over.
Yeah, that's it. It's like problem solved in like 2 seconds.
I think the main reason that's a problem is only because Janet did not get enough screen time to actually establish her character.
What her powers are.
Her powers and also her personality. Like, she's assumed to be a nice person because
Right.
Hank loves her. But if we could actually explore that more and show, like, her benevolence, like, I'm just gonna help people. I see someone hurting.
Yeah,
I'm gonna help
honestly,
them.
I would not have minded if they spent some screen time showing what happened to Janet and some of the experiences she
I
had. in the
presume
quantum
they'll be
realm.
I
showing that in a
think they
possible
sh-
prequel.
I think they showed off her personality well enough, to be honest. Like they showed that she was, willing to sacrifice herself to save tons and tons of people.
Yeah,
She's
they showed
clearly
that
a
she was
superhero.
selfless. She's a caring mom. She had
A
like
caring mom,
a sense of humor.
and they showed that she was incredibly smart too, because she
Mhm.
possessed Scott and was doing all the crazy science mumbo jumbo that no one else could figure out. You know, like she's clearly intelligent. She's clearly nice. She clearly has powers. You know, they established that. They just didn't. For me, they just didn't establish what her power set actually was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that kind of comes out of left field for me. So we didn't get that. But
Exactly.
in terms of her character, I thought it was well established.
I think the only reason that her powers definitely bother me. For the rest of the movie, the main reason the quantum stuff doesn't like particularly bother me as far as driving the plot, I would say because I could make a similar argument about most plot driving devices or MacGuffins or objects. Like the Power Stone drives the entire plot of Guardians 1. Why is Peter Quill important? Because he has the Power Stone. How does he meet the rest of the Guardians? Because they're looking for the Power Stone. Why is there a villain? Because he's looking for the Power Stone. How do they beat him? With the Power Stone. And it's like, stuff like that is kind of common in movies such as this. You could call it lazy or contrived, and there's definitely an argument for that. I would simply say that perhaps I am just a bit complacent when it comes to movies like this, that there needs to be an object or a force or a situation to create a plot and create conflict. And the Quantum Realm did all of that. It was a setting, but it was also a source of power, but it was also a challenge and almost, in a way, its own. And like, if anything is the antagonist in the movie, obviously there's the people, there's also the Quantum Realm itself and the challenge of getting there, surviving there, and saving people from there. Yeah. And I would care about everything having quantum in front of it, but they hand waved it with a joke, so I don't really bother me much.
I think the reason why it works. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my thing about the whole quantum stuff is that I feel like it's kind of a hand wave feeling of it, but I feel like it's just not that kind of movie. You know, like I feel like this was the movie that they were intentionally setting up all this quantum stuff to be intentionally very silly. You know, it's a movie where they're not really taking all this stuff that seriously, and they prove that by making a joke out of it in the movie itself, where they're like, oh, quantum that, quantum this, that kind of thing. But I think that's intentional. Like it's not meant to be a movie where you really, question the mechanics of how everything works, because that's not the point. It's just a funny situation in which these characters all have to chase after this one object, and they're just doing these things to get that sort of set up. It's intentionally a very low brow kind of less than it's not really trying to make you think about everything. It's just like, let's watch these characters do silly things. So that's how I felt about it, and I feel like that was intentional. It's a part of the movie that they intentionally wanted to happen. So I can kind of forgive the quantum stuff in that aspect.
Oh, in regards to like the Guardians comparison, I was gonna say I feel like Guardians gets a pass because they don't throw the Power Stone in your face. It's just kind of there. Its presence is so low, and you don't really hear about it too much. Like the movie is mainly like character development. You follow these characters, and sure, they're all after the same thing, but you don't hear them really talk about it all the time. You hear them talk a lot about themselves and what they want, and that's what drives that movie so well. But in this movie, what drives is like almost every scene, the characters are like the quantum this, the quantum that. How are we gonna do this? The quantum thing, the quantum that, and it breaks my immersion because you got like Hank Pym who's like spilling out all this like quantum science nonsense, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't get it. What am I missing something here? It sounded like he said a lot, but not at the same time.
Yeah, because it's fake science.
That's what I mean. It's like fake science. But it's all over the place. It's everywhere. They just the whole movie. It's constantly like throwing this fake science in my face. Well, and instead of making it something comprehensible, it just uses it as an excuse to move the plot along.
I would almost treat it like it's parodying fake science. It's not so much trying to use fake science as an actual plot thing as much as it is kind of poking fun at the aspect of fake science in
It's a
film.
movie about remote-controlled ants.
Yeah, like
You know.
this is a really self-aware movie that knows it's silly, and I think that's the point. That's why they're playing up the quantum stuff so much. It's not actually supposed to make sense.
The quantum is no more ludicrous than the very concept of Ant-Man itself, which isn't actually the very basic thing of how they explain his powers. Like it was like what was it? The space between atoms like shrinking. That's not even like actual science itself.
Yeah, right.
That
Exactly.
doesn't hold up under scrutiny. So I'm as far as the list of critiques, it's not personally something that bothers me, but I can see why.
Yeah, like I
Could-
understand why,
and
they're
that's
bothering
fine. I'm
I get
cool
it.
with that. I mean, Star Wars is literally fake science all over the place.
True.
It's just when it's used as a means to move the plot and as a resolution that they have to make up this science rather than use it as like I don't know for something in the background to build the world a little bit. That's when it starts to bother me
Mm.
because
Yeah.
it takes me out of it a bit. It's like oh what
I guess
these characters have been working all movie to resolve something and it's solved because fake science said so.
I do see where you're coming from. I don't agree that it's a problem for this movie. However, the problem I think that's really going to arise, though, with what you're saying, is how it's then implemented in the universe as a whole, right?
Mhm.
Because
Exactly,
right now,
yeah.
for this movie, I can make the excuse that it's all just silly science. It's meant to be the point. But then, once we have to go into the quantum realm to save Ant-Man
Exactly.
and/or travel back in time to
That's
solve
another thing we'll get
They're-
into.
they're-
there.
they-
the Thanos problem, then it's gonna be like, all right, well, what's going
Listen,
on now?
Exactly. That's
for
another
anyone
thing
who
I was
knows
considering
me,
too. Is like the scope of this world that they're building with the quantum realm. It's like it's kind of a big thing, not to
Yeah.
just like fool around with.
listen,
There's a whole universe that can be affected by it. I mean,
for anyone who knows me, you'll know how much I have a strong distaste for time travel in media.
mhm.
I think it's very rarely done well, and I've resigned myself to my fate that Avengers 4 is probably going to be a time travel movie, and knowing that they're going to quite possibly end up time traveling through the quantum realm, I have like minuscule expectations or hopes that it's actually going to make any kind of sense whatsoever. It's just going to be hand waved, time vortex. You know, if we shrink far enough, we can like go back in time. Like that's probably the most explanation we're going to get out of it.
Could be good though is if they're like self-aware of the time travel and then they like make jokes about how confusing the time travel is.
I mean, yes, subversion in that sense is decent because it's an admittance of the fact that it's a concept
But you
that
can
the
only do that
characters
so
can't
much.
comprehend. You can only do that so much. But yes, I would accept that in a way.
Like
it was
if
done
the
in a way.
fundamental premise of the movie itself is regarding this time travel thing, and they play that up as a joke a second time, then it's like, all right, so how are we supposed to take this plot seriously now? Because
Especially
it's one
if
thing in a movie where it's a comedy film, but it's
Ant-Man-
another when you're following up Infinity War, the
Ant-Man
movie
is
where
very
half
different
the
than
cast dies.
Yeah. Avengers 4 is going to be dark and dismal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to the post credits scene in a second. Before we tackle into that, because I feel like we can have a big discussion there. There's a few more notes about the movie. I really liked Ghost and whatever Lawrence Fishburne's character was.
Goliath.
There. Yeah, I feel like Ghost was incredibly cool as far as her powers, her visual
powers are really
effects,
cool.
what she could actually do. Pretty much every action scene involving her was incredibly suspenseful because she was basically invincible. That no one could ever do anything to her. Pretty much. My expectations shifted about halfway through when I realized she wasn't a traditional Marvel villain. And I stopped thinking of her as such. Both her and Bill Foster.
I was a
And
little
at that point, they
disappointed with
became
this.
much better characters.
That actually was the point where she became less of a better character for me.
How come?
Because I don't know, I felt like I was a little. It makes sense because it's like I said, it's a comedy movie. It's not meant to be taken too seriously, but I feel like they really could have played up her the tragedy of her character a little bit more, because she like this movie, she's not a bad person. She's not really evil. You know, she's not a villain. She's just trying to save her life. You know, like she's trying to stay alive, and that I feel was an aspect of her character, like the pain that she's constantly going through, just living, is something that they could have played up a little bit more, made her way more sympathetic as a person, especially when we got to learn what her true motivations were and why she was doing what she was doing.
I got that
But
vibe. They had tons of scenes of her just like
I
suffering.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, like, they definitely had scenes where they said she was suffering, and there was like 1 or 2 scenes where she was like, oh, it's constantly hurting. But then you have scenes where she's just playing stereotypical normal villain, where like they're tied up to the chair and she's acting like really creepy and kind of like jokery, I guess, where she's like touching Scott's face like a psychopath or whatever. Like,
And then they like cut that scene to tell a joke about cell phone
and then like
calls.
Yeah, that just didn't convey that she was in pain. It conveyed to me that she's just a villain, like she's just a crazy psychopath killer person thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like the first scene with her that really, I feel like it was very effective to set the tone, was when she gets the lab, and we're actually like, okay, so who is this person? We saw her show up and fight Hope, but who is this villain in the movie? And I expected like a monologue or some kind of plan, and instead she just kind of stumbles into a room.
Mm-hmm.
She puts the light down, she takes off the suit, and she lays down, and that's it. And then it cuts away.
Like I said,
okay.
I'm not saying that we didn't have those scenes.
That's good enough. Could I have done without the evil monologue scene? Perhaps. I don't think it really hurt the overall
I don't think it was
message.
good enough.
Because then they later do more than just that. Because they later have the linchpin scene of the entire movie, for me. Probably the best scene as far as the plot is when she's talking about like holding Cassie Lang for ransom. And Bill Foster, who I expected at this point to be the real villain masterminding things from behind the scenes for revenge, is just like, whoa, hold up. That's too far. And she's like, how is this too far? I have to save my life. What does it matter to me? And he's like, listen, there are limits, and there are some lines we can't cross. I'll help you. I'll find another way. But if you do this, I'm out. And you can see like you can practically just see the battle like raging inside of her head. And eventually she just kind of concedes. She doesn't even fully agree, but she's just like,
yeah, but that didn't convey to me that she was someone who was considering that as like a moral obligation to not take the life of a child to trade her own. For me, that was just a crap. Well, I need this guy. I can't continue without saving my. I can't continue saving my life without him. So I guess I'm not gonna do that.
It sold her desperation well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sold that she was desperate. I just feel like they could have made her more sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
For what it's worth, I think the actress did a phenomenal job either way. I mean, I fall either way on your guys' discussion here. I think no matter which way, she did really. Oh my goodness, she did a really good job. Because I haven't seen her in anything
a little
before.
hammy, but it's okay.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
I didn't really see the points. I just can't relate. I felt like she was incredibly sympathetic. I can't even imagine what else I could have done to make her more sympathetic. In fact, I think the tragic backstory where they took like 5 minutes to explain her past made her too sympathetic. Showing how like her dad and like her parents died and she was there in the rubble. I was like, okay, so what exactly has she done that's even villainous? Like she's almost a 100% sympathetic character at that point. Am I supposed to feel like she said, I've killed people for S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was like, oh, for S.H.I.E.L.D.? Were you a Hydra agent? Were you like being used by the Hydra faction of S.H.I.E.L.D. to kill people? Are we going to explore that to maybe show how much of a villain you were? But they never even do anything with that.
She's a Nazi like Ward, too.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's just like, that was just like another thing where, I don't know. It felt like we were being told to sympathize with her, but I never felt actual sympathy for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was just going around wanting to kill children, wanting to kill Janet, and like just to trade her own. She was really selfish, and I get that she was in pain and desperate the entire time, But I don't know. I felt like she would have been far more impactful if she wasn't actually a villain and was actually trying to like do moral
Right.
goodness and while still suffering the entire time. That would have been
Yeah.
something impactful, especially when it came to the end where you're like, all right, well now we need to trade. It's either Janice or her. Like that decision would have been way tougher, knowing that this person was actually a really good person who just wanted to help people.
That's fair. She never really did anything in the movie to help people. I would have liked to see some scenes of her being altruistic. My only counterpoint to that was she never really did anything villainous either, except talk about the stuff she could do. Like she didn't kill anyone. She didn't even like wound
do it,
anyone.
but only because she couldn't, because she would have lost her only way to survive. She's
Like she
selfish.
didn't have a Marvel villain moment where I was like, oh snap, this person means business.
She wanted to take a child for ransom.
Yeah, but like it's just a trade, you know.
Oh my gosh.
A trade?
Yeah.
Do you condone
It'd be
it?
one thing if she was like, I'm gonna kill Cassie Lang, and I'd be like, oh snap, this person's a villain. But,
Well,
like, she didn't say
I mean, that's kind of, you know, the assumption. If she's going to take this child away under the guise that you need to trade Janet's life for her, and you don't trade Janet's life, then what's going to happen to the child? She's going to die. That's the point. That's the whole point. That's why she's kidnapping the child.
She gonna kill her.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
it's like I didn't feel like she was sympathetic at all. She was a jerk.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't relate to you here. I
Man.
never got like any... I actually feel 100% opposite. I think they could have shown more scenes of her like actually being a jerk. I don't think there were enough of them.
Either
And I
Var,
certainly don't think that Cassie Lang was the linchpin for her villainy.
either Var is
Just a
unempathetic,
trailer for desperation.
or Meso is a child
Do you
killer.
like super sympathetic villains though, or do you like it when they're a little bit more evilish?
I like I mean, my favorite villain in all of Marvel is, well, I like
Yourself.
Kingpin from Daredevil for an example. He was very clearly a villain. He was immoral. He does terrible, terrible, terrible things. You see his past, you see why he got to this point, and you understand him. It doesn't particularly take away from his actions or make them any better per se. But you kind of get it. You're like, I can see how this character progressed to this point. With Ghost, I feel like it was they tried to do something similar, but they focused a lot on her tragic past, but didn't actually do anything to show her acting as a villain, besides her saying that she killed for S.H.I.E.L.D. And because of that, I never even really saw her as a villain. I just saw her as another force in this world trying to, as Var said, I suppose I can relate there, selfishly do things. In her case, it would be selfishly saving her life. In Bill Foster's case, I guess it would be one-upping Hank Pym or trying to atone for the past or whatever. And in Hank Pym's case, it would be selfishly trying to save Janet in case, even if someone dies because of it. Everyone's working for their own personal agendas. No one is seriously a villain. And that's not a critique, by the way. I was very satisfied by that, especially in the wake of the two most recent films. I don't count Infinity War, but like Black Panther and even for the sake of this discussion, the original Ant-Man, like Yellow Jacket and Killmonger.
It would be nice though, because like I agree that I like the point that everybody's kind of working on their own agendas, but it would have been nice if, as an audience member, I could have felt like I could get behind the agendas of everybody too, so that you're kind of like it's a race to the finish.
I'll
you
agree.
don't really have someone that you want to win because everybody needs to win.
I'll agree
Everybody's
with you
got
there.
something at stake. I don't know. I just felt like Ghost was kind of one-dimensional, and it would have been nice if they tied her backstory into like her motivations a bit more too. Like it's really sad that her parents died, but you'd think that she understands the pain of losing someone that you love really close to her, and that would actually reflect how she behaves. You know, she was a child that was in a desperate situation, so you'd think, okay, so she would actually respect Cassie Lang and Scott Lang for that matter for being a good father who cares about his
Yeah.
children, but that doesn't reflect in her character at all. She doesn't care about that. So,
I'll
I
agree
don't
with you
know.
there. That's a fair observation. And correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a line where like Hank Pym says, just kind of offhandedly, Bill's filling her head with lies. Her father was stealing my stuff or whatever, stealing
He
my
does say that,
formulas.
yes.
And they never pay that off.
That
at all.
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely correct.
Yep.
That never went anywhere.
Because like I kept thinking all throughout the movie, so Bill Foster is gonna be the real villain, and he's like manipulating everybody to get revenge on Hank Pym. But then by the end, Bill Foster's just a good guy. He doesn't want to kill
He's the
Cassie
moral one.
Lang.
Yeah.
He wants to save
Yep.
the ghost, and he doesn't abandon her. And like, oh, okay, so there was no villain.
Like they made him more sympathetic than Ghost.
I guess Sonny Birch was
Yeah,
the main
they did.
antagonist of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I actually kind of thought that Janet was going to be a villain for
Me
for
too.
a second
I
there.
was 100% sure that she was gonna come back and be a villain, manipulated by the quantum realm.
Dude, if she
Yeah.
killed
Gone
Hank
insane.
Pym, that would have been amazing.
I was 100% sure they were gonna do that, but they did not.
Nah, man, because you gotta stop the real villain, Ghost, with healing hands. That's why.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't, because I like Janet, but I totally thought that's what they were going to do.
Yep.
But yeah,
Maybe they will in the future. Who knows? Ant-Man 3.
I
Shrug.
guess so.
Give you some healing
Uh,
hands.
I like that Marvel,
see your
it seems like
criticism.
Marvel's trying to do better with their villains. I think there's a little bit more work that could be done. Thanos is really good. Killmonger was disappointing. Ghost is disappointing. For me, it seems like...
But Killmonger won the best villain at whatever awards that
Yeah.
was recently.
For me, I think the closer they get to almost being perfect makes me like them less. Because then it's just like, well, dang, I wish they were perfect, you know? Like,
I agree.
Killmonger, really close to being perfect. Ghost, really close. Like, they both have potential, but it's just something is just missing. There's just something there that I wish they could push a bit more, do a bit more with them, make them a little less one-dimensional, make them more likable, more sympathetic, or maybe just, I don't know, make me rally behind their cause a bit more. And each time it's just one slight notch below where I want it to be. And that just makes me hate them more.
I think the reason I think I like a lot of Marvel TV's villains and why I like Thanos so much is because he follows similar principles. Like, they're able to almost tell the villain's story parallel with the heroes, and they get enough
Yeah.
screen time to make you care about them. And the movies very rarely are able to do that because they kind of just have to have them be a force already. Like Yellow Jacket, I feel, is the most stereotypical Marvel villain ever.
Yeah, he's
just
awful.
kind of there at the start, and he's already evil. Why? Apparently he was jealous. Or wait, could it be that the particles are messing with his mind and he's going crazy like Hope
Yeah.
says later on? Is that the case? We never really find out.
It's the Pym particles. They're messing.
They're messing with your mind. And if that's the case, why isn't everyone else going crazy?
Like, the best villains need to counter the hero's motivations. Like, there should be similarities, but it's like they both went through the same journey but ended up on a different outcome, you know? I think that's the way to handle... Because, like, Thanos really counters Tony. I think they have very kind of, like... Almost like Tony's, like, the super altruistic guy. So is Thanos. But they have different things to solve the problem. They both want to save people, but very different outcomes. I think maybe an interesting thing they could have done with Ant-Man is focus on Hank Pym as the main character a bit more, maybe. And, like, he's really, like, going gung-ho about this quantum particle thing to save lives or whatever, that kind of thing. But then you look at Ghost as an example of, oh, meddling with this stuff is bad. This is what happens when it goes wrong. And that's the, kind of a moral quandary sort of thing there, where you've got the hero and the bad guy who both went through the same kind of journey, different outcomes, different sides of the same coin kind of thing.
I'll
Anyway.
agree. The villain needs to be an ideological difference. They tried to do that with Ghost. I think they got very close. But honestly, if the movie had ended differently, with Janet not saving Ghost, I think it could have tied it all together very well. Because like you all were saying, the quandary of saving her life at the cost of someone else's. That was the whole linchpin.
Especially if Janet turned out to be the villain after.
Especially if Janet turned out to be the villain. When they didn't do that, they must have future plans for Ghost and Bill Foster to
dude.
just be part of the gang.
Imagine
Yeah,
this
I
whole time
guess.
we thought Ghost was the bad guy. We were chasing her down, trying to stop her to save Janet. Only for at the end, Janet is the bad guy and Ghost was actually the good guy.
That
I would have loved that.
would have been great.
That would be pretty cool.
Would have been awesome. So liking Bill Foster and liking Ghost, whatever her actual name was, I completely forget. Ava.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they seem to be setting them up to be recurring characters in the future as just part of the crew. But it does leave the villain conflict of this movie a little lacking. That being said, I will echo what Prentice said in the chat, and I thought Ghost was better than Killmonger. But only because recent rewatches of Black Panther have soured me on Killmonger. At first, I was all on the Killmonger hype train. Like, yeah, he's such a great villain. Subsequent
Honestly, I'd probably
rewatches,
put them like on the same pedestal.
I now can't like get the whole, I ain't worried about no brand. Check it out, out of my head. That line that we mocked has like devalued because it represents all the bad things about Killmonger. His lack of like seriousness or subtlety.
I'll be honest. I think they're both equal. They both
Yeah, I think
are
they're
like
equal, too.
close to being good, but they're both really hammy. And they both have like great ideas behind them, but the actors I don't think really gave them a lot of credit. And I don't
Yeah.
they're equally disappointing for me.
Fair enough. Matora, if you're still alive, what did you think of Ghost?
Interesting.
Nice.
Nice.
I haven't seen the movie.
See,
What?
so this thought occurred to me because I realized Envy and I have been talking about the possibility of going to see the movie again while we're in Virginia for Brick Fair, and Envy had mentioned to me you hadn't seen the movie. I wasn't sure if that had changed, so that crossed my mind. I was afraid of that.
Matora, you're awesome.
Why are you here?
You're awesome.
I don't know. I came here and just hanging out.
Never change, Matora.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Just
All right.
Moments like these
That's
make me glad we
amazing.
hired you. That's good.
That's
I'm
quite
just happy
amazing.
to be here.
I just want to hang out. Why are you here? The door was open. That's because of us. Oh my god. All right. Well,
Wow.
let's talk post credits. So, post credits scene. Scott Lang is in the quantum realm, going to get quantum healing particles to quote
Because of
unquote
quantum reasons.
to quote unquote continue Ghost's treatments. So apparently whatever magic healing hands Janet did wasn't enough to completely cure Ghost. Only halfway.
It makes me mad.
Come on,
It
man.
wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. So now he has to go back into
What
the
did she
quantum
do?
realm.
Sedate her?
Yeah, yes. Quantum sedation.
Oh my gosh.
So now he has to go back into the quantum realm to get more, and it's hilarious the way it's done because he like goes in and he has this little capsule and he's there for literally like 3 seconds. It's like do. Okay, pull me out. I got it. I got the quantum healing particles, and then snapped away. But he's stuck
Yeah,
in
that
there.
was great. I clapped. Ugh.
Yeah, I clapped too. And I like how they did it just like vague enough to where like people who I guess for some odd reason may not have even seen Infinity War. Like they get that something's happened, but it hasn't been spoiled for them necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you have seen Infinity War, you completely get it.
Yeah, like you don't need to watch Infinity War to get that. Oh wow, something bad just happened.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is cool. Now, the thing that Janet says is be careful not to go in the time vortex, otherwise we can't save you. And that's all she says, and no one seems to like question that. So evidently, the fact that there's a time vortex is just common knowledge. Yet it was not mentioned before. Shrug. I don't know what's up with that. But that being the case, if you put that together with the leaked set photos that show an older Tony Stark with like gray hair and then the casting call for a 5 years older teenaged Cassie Lang, it becomes pretty obvious the route Avengers 4 is going to take. Ant-Man is going to be probably the central character, or at least the start of the movie, driving the plot along finally, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. He's going to wind up in the future, a few years down the line, where Tony Stark is going to be super despondent, unable to save people, can't figure out what to do, and utilizing the Pym particles and the quantum realm, they're going to figure out a way to go back in time and change the future, which I cringe at. But I also must understand that there's no other way they can do it. Considering the characters that were involved in the Infinity Gauntlet story in the comics, from what I'm to understand, not existing in this universe yet. Like, what's his face? Adam Warlock or whoever.
Watch, they're gonna go back to the first Avengers movie.
Yeah, they are. Set photos show, like, they literally replicate the battle for New York, but Ant-Man's there.
Oh man,
So yes, that is happening 100%.
hold it.
Other rumors say they're going to revisit a lot of older Marvel films and change things to where Thanos does not end up getting the Infinity Stones. Case in point, revisiting Guardians 1, but making it so Tony gets the Power Stone, for instance. And that would be controversial because the Power Stone is the reason the Guardians formed to start with.
Mm-hmm.
So if they change the timeline, would Guardians 3 potentially have a different cast? Shrug. There's a lot of interesting stuff they could do there if they really go hard into time travel, which I don't want them to. But what can you do?
I hope they don't go too hard to a point where like some of the sequels turn out to be pointless. You know,
Yep, totally.
like Guardians 2 doesn't happen because they changed this for Guardians 1.
That's really dangerous waters they could go into. That's why I hate time travel. But in moderation, it could be all right. We'll see. That's pretty much it.
All right.
That's the state of affairs right now.
That was a good hour of rant manning.
Ha! Rant Man and the Wasp.
Rant Man
Okay.
and the Rasp.
No.
Rant Man and the Wasp.
Raggy.
The moment where Matoro said, I haven't seen the movie, will go down in infamy. Top 10 TTV moment.
I actually still found this podcast really interesting, though. Like, just felt like a ideas like.
I don't want
level.
to. I can't with you right now. Go watch the movie.
Oh, Matoro, do you want to go
I'm
see?
sorry.
Do you want to go see the movie in a few weeks in Virginia?
Yeah, it sounds like I'm interested now after listening to.
Awesome. All right, cool. In that case, Envy and I were already pretty sure we'd be doing
Quantum
that.
science.
We're gonna be watching so many gosh darn movies. Like Matoro, you and Envy have this long
Alright, well,
How are
list.
you gonna pull that off? Oh, quantum.
We
science.
still haven't watched Galador.
Come on,
Wow, someone's angry.
Matthew
Yeah,
and
geez.
Wald
Yeah,
is gonna be
I know
there.
Matthew Awold is gonna be there, and Envy hasn't watched a single episode of Galador.
Hey, maybe if you keep hitting your wall hard enough, your microphone will like reflect the sound waves, and you can find it. Like,
No, I figured out
like
where it is.
dolphins.
I looked it up. It's on this side, but I think I might just have to buy a real microphone.
are you
probably.
sure it's not on that side?
Oh my gosh.
Google said
Come
all
on,
the
get
a
your
real
time.
echolocation.
All right. I want to highlight this comment from the YouTube chat just because I feel like it's an interesting thing to discuss briefly. Walter Alvarez said making Janet a villain would have been horrible, another Cortana. And then Var chimed in, we had 5 games to grow attached to Cortana as a character and see her as a hero. We've only seen Janet in one scene. The two are barely comparable. And you're right about that. To go further onto that point, I don't think it's a bad thing for a hero character to pull a heel turn and go into a villain role for either ideological reasons or some
Or
kind of
because of
mental
So long as there's
insanity.
actual reason.
So
for
long
it.
as there's a reason. The reason Halo 5 sucked was because they did not explain why Cortana was evil. They said, well, she went into the domain and it corrupted her. What is the domain? How did it corrupt her? We don't know.
It's like the quantum realm.
They've since tried to retcon it even further by saying that, oh, don't worry, it's just a fragment of Cortana that split apart from the end of Halo 4 that went into the domain and turned evil. I don't know. With Janet, there's a million things they could have done. Even just as simple as the quantum realm having driven her insane. Would that have been interesting as a plot? Not necessarily, because Yellow Jacket was insane and he was kind of boring. Would it have made sense? Yes, because the quantum realm is madness. It changes you. I could not imagine staying sane being there.
Yeah, if I was stuck in that place, like, did you see what it looked like? It was just like a freaking blob of color. Imagine spending the rest of your life for 30 years in that place by yourself, all alone. You'd go nuts.
It would have been totally believable that she would have gone crazy whilst being in there. Way more than her being perfect, angelic, serene.
Honestly, it makes less sense that she's completely fine. It makes no sense at all.
She evolved. The quantum energy, it flows through her.
Changed her.
It changed her.
Freaking quantum reasons.
Quantum therapy.
Remember, like, Hank was going all loco, and then she put her hands on his temples, and then he was fine.
You know how she solved it? By putting her own hands on her own.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfectly fine.
Now, can I say my biggest problem with the movie?
No,
Healing
time
hands.
passed. You're no longer
Just-
alive.
just- I couldn't take it seriously.
Oh, I forgot I was mad at you. Never mind. No.
Why are you mad at me?
Because you
Tell
suck.
me! What have I done to you?
You know what you did.
No, I really don't.
You should know.
That just makes it even worse, Meso. What are you doing?
I don't know.
Go back and read your chat history. Jeff.
My chat history.
I'm sorry,
All
Meso,
right.
but we've made a unanimous decision. We have to let you go.
Oh God.
The statement regarding
I've made.
Finally!
So I have made a unanimous decision to let you know.
Far away.
Wait.
Anyway,
Meso.
my biggest
Should've
flaw with
seen
the
this
movie,
coming.
and I bust out laughing when I saw it, and I don't think it was intentional. It's when Janet Pym shows up to Hank for the first time. She literally has like a Jedi hood and like Jedi robes on top of her like Wasp costume, as well as like a bow staff. She looked like a Rey cosplayer from Force Awakens, but with an Ant-Man mask. It was like something out of two different movies. And I just couldn't stop wondering, where did she get the hood and the staff in the quantum realm?
Quantum fabric, dude.
So, well, actually,
Like, so some quantum fabric. She went to the quantum cosplays thrift shop.
So- there's very possibly something to explain it. And there are some people that claim that when Scott is in the quantum realm during that post-credit scene, you can see like bubbles that look like they have tiny cities in them. Now,
Oh God.
apparently that is
No.
it's a comics
Quantum
thing.
City.
Quantum cities.
That'd be pretty.
Well, basically, there's just really, really, really small cities in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
The issue is, and the reason why we probably didn't see it so heavily focused on this time, is because the rights to those cities are held by someone else. I have no idea who.
Of course they are.
However, that being the case, obviously, Fox and Disney are doing this kind of thing. If Fox owns them, again, I don't know. Oh, wait, what? Ronimus Prime's in the chat says Hasbro owns them. It's the Micronauts. Micronauts?
Micronauts?
Yeah.
Micronauts.
No.
And apparently,
Micronauts, the movie, directed by Michael Bay.
so
It's gonna happen.
long story short, the hypothesis is she went to them.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
fair
I
enough.
totally believe that because, like I said
I'll believe it.
earlier, the quantum realm is just opposite space. It's just as expansive as space is, except small. So.
Yeah, that's
Totally
that's
believe it.
totally fair. I didn't know that. And Prentice even says the bow staff was her wings. So fair enough. If she like converted that, I can accept it. As far as not being like a plot hole, it just looked completely ludicrous. It looked like a parody. It looked like someone parodying the Halo 5 Guardians trailer with Poncho Chief. And like Chief takes off his poncho and there's like Spartan armor underneath. It was the exact same kind of a thing.
Janet, what are you doing?
Finishing
this fight.
Especially since it was supposed to be an emotional moment. And I couldn't take it seriously at all.
Why did Chief need a poncho?
He did it all. He did it all. Halo 5's marketing was a lie. Capital
Everything
L-I-E.
about Halo 5 was a lie. Is it gonna be a good game? Yeah, sure. No, that's a lie
I think
too.
that the theme they were trying to tell was that Chief was on the run and like hiding his identity. That was what I think they were going for, but they didn't actually do that. So,
Yeah, that's weird.
all right,
You know what did look good though?
would look good.
Freaking young
Ghost.
Michelle Pfeiffer at the start, dude.
Oh,
That
yes.
de-aging CGI was really good this time around. Like,
Yep.
wow.
They just keep on getting better and better at it every
It was
single
better for
movie.
Michael Douglas too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like man, I was shocked when I saw that. I was like, wow, that looks
The-
so.
I
And then she
remember
does,
the
like,
first
the
Ant-Man
goofy
made me
face,
laugh.
and I'm like, man.
The first Ant-Man made me laugh because of the de-aging of Michael Douglas. It was like it wasn't bad. It was okay, but it's just it was funny because he looked younger, but he still sounded freaking old.
Yeah. I noticed that in
I would-
Incredibles.
I would
Anybody
never
else notice
trust
that?
you, Stark.
No,
She sounds like a raggedy old man in a 30-year-old dude's body.
I didn't notice that far.
Really, man, dude, freaking Elastigirl sounded so old in that movie.
Oh, Incredibles
I
2,
noticed that in
yeah.
the trailers,
Yeah, Incredibles
Sorry,
2.
I was very off-putting.
I didn't notice at all because I haven't seen that movie.
Oh.
Incredibles 2 was great. Oh yeah, you guys all saw it. It was great. Let's talk about that for like 2
Wait,
I've not
seconds.
seen it.
Really? Okay. That was a good movie. You should go see
It's a
it.
good movie. Yeah.
I
you guys gotta
have
go
one final thought about Ant-Man before we wrap up into like overall rankings and the end of the podcast. Now bear with me here. Okay, I'm gonna blow your minds with my conspiracy theory nature. Sonny Birch says both S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra have fell, but in the first Ant-Man, Hydra is an active organization because Yellow Jacket has a Hydra buyer that he wants to sell the Yellow Jacket suit to. Ant-Man takes place after Avengers Age of Ultron, where Hydra was stopped by the Avengers. So for Hydra to be active in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Ant-Man, Hydra needed to still be an active organization after Age of Ultron. Ergo, for Hydra to have publicly be recognized as having fallen in between Ant-Man and Ant-Man 2, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. must be what they're referencing because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. destroyed Hydra in Season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. which took place after Ant-Man. Ergo, S.H.I.E.L.D. was referenced. I refuse to
Agents of
accept
S.H.I.E.L.D.
anything
is an
else.
awful show. No one likes it. Please, no one watch it.
Well,
I
okay,
do not
man.
want them to be continued for another season.
You see, so unless the characters actually show up, it's non-canon and not worth watching.
Especially now that Chloe Bennett's dating Logan Paul.
Oh God! Oh God!
Ugh.
Don't say it. Don't think it. Don't say it.
No, no. That okay? Honestly, like a lot of things she's been
Say
saying
bye-bye,
recently.
man.
After that, I'm very I'm disappointed.
Absolutely, it's horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible. And I'm not one to claim to dictate the personal life of someone I don't know. All I can go off is the information we've been shown. Logan Paul could be a decent person.
Well,
I just don't think so.
it's like, for
based on what
instance,
we've been shown.
I don't know. It's kind of like someone saying, "Well, I wasn't involved in what happened with other KI, so he seems nice to me."
Man,
Jeez.
shots
Okay.
fired. But
Bang,
true.
bang.
True shots fired. Bang, bang, bang. Either way, that was my conspiracy theory. Is it possible they're just referencing Avengers Age of Ultron where they took out that one base? Yes. Would it be a timeline plot hole if that's all they were referencing? Yes. So.
I mean, it wouldn't be a plot hole if we just ignored S.H.I.E.L.D.'s existence entirely.
if it was.
All right. Okay.
Now,
My goodness.
we've kind of like how long
Conspiracy theory
meandering
messes
was,
over
Probably because it's not actually connected.
Shut up!
Bob.
Now,
Jeez.
overall rankings. Who liked
Dude sucks, dude.
not Shield?
I think I would rank S.H.I.E.L.D. as maybe less than Inhumans.
I would rank Var as less than the worst person.
Oh,
on
think
Earth.
about this.
I would
Yeah, I was
I would
gonna
rank
say, tread
you.
carefully.
I would rank you less than Iron Fist.
Oh.
Oh,
I mean,
wait, who are
okay.
you talking to?
I mean, yeah.
Oh,
Wait, what?
Meso.
Of
Okay,
course
cool.
not.
Okay, in my defense, I liked Iron Fist. I liked the show.
Gosh,
Oh, so you
dang,
like
this
Meso,
cursed
okay.
Iron Fist.
Okay.
It's okay. Sometimes everybody likes trash? Question mark? No one
Shut up.
likes trash. I'm sorry, Meso. No one likes you.
What is your beef, dude?
Dude, I really can't with Meso today.
Beef is pretty good.
What
What?
have I done? Huh? What have I done?
You'll
All right, let's
find
end
out.
this.
All right,
Um,
Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't know if we want to do like arbitrary number rankings or just say like dislike, but I liked it a lot.
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 too. Yep.
I am above number rankings.
Never
All I
mind. I changed my
know-
mind. I'm gonna be more unique. 6.75 out of 10.
Fair enough.
We're getting
All
into
I know
this.
is I liked it more than Black Panther, and like Doctor Strange, and like Guardians 2, and pretty much all the more recent Marvel movies except Infinity War. So I'll give it a thumbs up as my
Oh
rank.
my
Think it
goodness.
more than Thor Ragnarok?
Nah, maybe not Thor.
No, dude, Thor Ragnarok is miles beyond better than this.
They made me laugh about equivalent amounts, so they get props for that.
Definitely not for me.
Yeah, same.
I try to encompass
was
the
way
entire
better.
film. Thor Ragnarok is still easily the funniest MCU movie for me. However, when it comes to I've been in a long-standing conversation with myself over which I liked more, Guardians 2 or Thor Ragnarok. And I feel like Guardians 2 might have been the better movie, but Thor Ragnarok was the more entertaining movie. And in this instance, I feel as though Ant-Man and the Wasp
Nah.
is the combination of those two thoughts. So I'm going to give it an
Dude,
8
Guardian
out of 10.
2 was garbage.
Ven,
Yeah,
I
man, high five.
Ven,
Yeah.
I am not going to lash out at
It
you
should
for
be
having.
called Garbage of the Galaxy too.
I'm
Garbage of the galaxy.
Ven. Unlike our fellow host Meso, I won't lash out at you. I will respect your opinion.
Okay.
That's fine. We don't respect yours.
It's okay, Var. You don't have to.
It's okay to have a wrong
I'll tell you, I'm
opinion.
mad
That's okay, Var. I'm not mad at you,
Actually,
and that's
no,
what.
I'm not. I can't pretend like I am. I'm more
It's
mad
okay.
at Meso.
Thank you.
So you are hereby pardoned from life.
All
So
right.
you ever gonna end this stupid podcast or what?
Dude,
man?
yeah,
Like,
man.
like,
Hey.
what are you doing?
Whoa.
Hi, everybody.
I
wonder
Thank
why
you
we
for
hate
joining
you.
us.
Okay.
I'm Ben.
All right. No, not yet.
Wait, what?
Cue the music.
Stop the music!
Cue the music.
Stop the music!
What do you mean
Stop
not
the
yet?
music!
What more
I
is
thought we were
left?
gonna do like our patron shout out at our outro. The music would end before that.
Ugh.
Thank y'all very much for watching the TTV podcast, episode 297. One day, Var will tell me why he's
Who's
mad
the
at me.
patron gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's the shout out?
One day you'll be self-aware enough to figure it out.
Who are we gonna pick?
The patron shout out for this week will go to Meerkat. Meerkat.
Oh,
Moorcat. However you pronounce it. M-U-I-R cat.
You are hereby pardoned again. Wait, you're botching this name.
So thank y'all
Well,
very
we
much
just
for
didn't
watching
want
this
you to pronounce
podcast
it right. It's
episode.
He botched the name almost as much as he's botched our friendship.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
We'll see you all next week. Or whenever we do TTV next. For the next
I'm Ben.
exciting
There won't be
Maybe
episode.
it's French.
I'm Meso.
An important announcement regarding Meso.
No!
Hey, what happened to the music?
What do you mean what happened to the music? It's playing, you ding dong. Can you not
I
hear
don't
it?
hear it. I'm Ben.
There. It's been playing this whole time. I'm LJ.
Matter of. Yeah.
Oh, I'm Deadmatoro.
And Var's over there.
I already said my name! Of course you wouldn't listen to me, because you never do.
Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone.